Hi, Team Flyer, and welcome here to another beautiful Wednesday here at the Always Believer podcast. My name is Ariadna, and today we have a beautiful and wonderful guest all the way from Miami and beyond, to be honest. I love her work. I love her message. And if you know anything about this community by now, you know it's all about the message and leaving that legacy and all about building our community up. So here I go from one Latina to another, introducing Miss Shomara, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got it right. Good.
Yeah. If you want to say it the Spanish way, that's how you say it.
Yes.
But otherwise, Shomara.
Shomara.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you prefer?
It doesn't matter, to be honest.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I get the same thing with my name all the time. Like, there's a version, more or less a version in English and then in Spanish. I'm like, it's okay. I like both. Like, I get it.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
I'm used to Shomara. I think I'm used to no, wait. There you go. See, now I just mixed both of them. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Not only because I really do love the sound of like your name in Spanish. It's actually really beautiful. When you told me, I'm like, oh, Xiomara. And I've only really seen it with an X rather than with an SH. That's why I was like, how do you say it again?
Yeah.
And here, a little big shout out to Jane the Virgin. It's the name of her mom as well. And just hearing the name over and over again reminds me of like good times. So the show's really good, obviously, but like, Xiomara,
Yeah.
it's so pretty.
Definitely. I know a lot of Brazilians, they spell it with the XI versus SH.
Exactly. So that's the only way that I've seen it written until yours. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's what I was like, it has a nice ring to it.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, a little tired, so please excuse me, but I'm here.
Yeah, we were talking right before, recording. We were both kind of the same vibe, just relaxed. And it's like, okay, we got this. And it's a relaxing kind of show. That's what I always say. Like I want our viewers, our audience to just be chilling and listen to our stories like if they were right there. And this is us today, and it's okay. We don't have to be energetic 110% of the time.
This is true.
Are we most of the time? Yes, we are. It's us. But we don't have to be.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about you, my love.
Okay, so that is, every time someone asks me that, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a big question. Where do I start?
Preach. It's like, do you want a short version, long version? How much time do you got on your hands right now?
So where would you like me to start?
Where are you from?
Okay, so originally I'm from Connecticut, born and raised. As far as cultural background, my father is Belizean and my mom is Puerto Rican. So culturally, all in the mix. I grew up with a diverse group of people, mostly Brazilians, Jamaicans, and African Americans. So I feel like that has what embodied the background of Blatina and what a Blatina really is. So, so growing up, I did have some cultural identity issues. Nevertheless, though, I always was very comfortable with who I am, very proud of where my parents came from and the things that they were doing at the time. I did go to an HBCU because I wanted to get the Black experience. And when I say Black, obviously the Black American experience, but also once I was there, I learned how diverse we really are. And that's when I started to embody all of me and embracing who I truly was. Growing up, I always just said I'm Black. I never said I was Belizean or Puerto Rican. I mean, people knew, but I never said it. I never felt like closely to those two cultures until I went off to college. And that's when I was just like wearing my flag. If you walked into my dorm room, you would see my flag on the wall. Whenever anyone questioned about my hair or my Spanish last name, I would always go into detail as to who I really was. And then after college is really when I started to learn, like, man, there's Blacks in all of these communities. In Brazil, Colombia, not just Cuba and Dominican Republic, like most people think. But there's Blacks everywhere. And so that's when I started to really educate myself on the slave trade, the diaspora, and kind of led me into taking my experiences and creating Shop Be Latina.
I adore that so much because from can you hear me correctly, right, love?
Yes.
Okay, good. As always, double checking. I love that so much because I feel like with your message that we're gonna go a little bit deeper in today, of course, apart from your business and what you do, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it comes. The reason why you're so passionate about it is because it comes from within, and it comes from your
Right.
personal story, and then that you've realized that there's not a genre per se, but there's a section in our world that we haven't really heard much from, and that is definitely what a Blatina is in this particular case, and
Right.
Afro-latina
Right.
as well, as some people also call it. There's new forms of terminology, and there's new ways of being like, oh, I'm Black, but I'm Latina. I don't have
Exactly.
to be, from a specific kind of country, a specific type of place. And I love that and I appreciate that so much
Mm-hmm.
because much like we were saying at the beginning, anytime someone's like, so tell me a little bit about you, I'm like, which part of my story do you want to hear? Because there's so much going on.
Right.
Like, I was born in Caracas and I have a Venezuelan mom and an Ecuadorian father. But at the
Wow.
same time, I went to Miami when I was a kid. So I grew up in Miami. I went to to Massachusetts, and then I ended up in Spain for most part of my teenagehood and adult life.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a humongous mix when it comes to my own skin color, because I get like, I'm from everywhere. People are like, oh, you're from Asia, or oh, you're from Hawaii, or you're from like India, and I'm like,
Well, you do have an interesting look. Like I would have never guessed Venezuelan and Ecuadorian, but at the same time, it's like and not everyone looks the same, so you can't assume.
exactly. Like I'll take that as a compliment without a doubt, because it's like it's really hard to pinpoint me, and I've had that all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I came across your story and your message, I'm like, oh my God, I feel identified. I'm not Black. I'm Latina, but I'm like, I don't have that dark skin color by any means. However, I do understand what it means to, I just come in all shades, and I'm like, this is who
Right.
I am. And
Right.
then, when we start talking about my Spanish, is completely different because I do have an accent mixed from here, from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different kind of conversation and ball field. But going back to, like, how you physically look, it's important because it's your roots as well, and you want to acknowledge your roots.
Exactly. For sure. For sure.
And so throughout your whole life,
Mm-hmm.
you kept saying, well, I'm Black, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what you, identified with, and that's who you were with. And what made you jump to the change? Like, what made you be like, wait a second, hold up? Like you said, college, which is usually the time that, most of us are waking up in the world, obviously, because, you're 18 and up.
Right.
What sparked in you?
Well, while I was in college, which I attended Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, attending the HBCU, I learned that, Blacks were from everywhere. Not to say I didn't know before, I just never really thought about it prior to. But when you're in college and you're repping where you're from, who you're with, you're hanging with your specific group of people, like, I've met and in joining a sorority and having line sisters who were Black from Tobago or Black from Jamaica or Black from Africa. And it's just like, I really started to think like, man, we are really everywhere and we're so diverse. Even though we're so similar, we're so different at the same time. So it made me want to say, you know what, well, I'm Belizean and Puerto Rican, and as people began to question, as when you're living in a dorm, you see everything, you see all the behind the scenes, right? So if I'm in the bathroom and I'm doing my hair and stuff, I always got questioned about my hair. Why did I have a Spanish last name? And so, the more and more I kept saying, oh yeah, my dad's Belizean, my mom's Puerto Rican, I have the same spiel. And they're like, well, I just don't get it. How come you're dark skinned?
What is there to get? That's who I am.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's kind of like they didn't believe me, or they're still asking, but it's just like, deep down inside, they probably didn't believe me. And that's okay.
That's okay.
But it always became like boom in their face when they saw my parents, because my dad is dark with an accent and my mom is light skinned and she has an interesting look. So yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, now I got it. And once they see
it's like you needed a visual now, didn't you? Here you go.
exactly. I having to prove who I truly was. Once they heard my dad speak, and then once they saw my mom's picture or they seen her in person, it was like, okay, I believe you now. Um, so yeah, you know, as those experiences kept happening, and the more and more these different scenarios kept playing, it made me like think like, man, I really am Belizean and Puerto Rican. Like, I need to embrace this. I need to learn more. And then it helped that, you know, my father is getting older, and he's starting to retell stories of what has happened in his childhood and growing up in Belize. So it made me develop this love for his culture, or my culture.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, so with him sharing all these stories about him coming to America, about you know, getting his visa and all of these different things that transpired, it made me more appreciative of his journey and how far I've came, you know, being from someone born to an immigrant.
I deeply love that because, like you said, you know, you're embracing your culture because you're like, oh, it's my dad's. Actually, it's mine. It's both of yours, of course. It's an
Exactly.
extension of who he is. It's
Hmm.
obviously you.
Right.
And yeah, going back to, you know, what resonated with me, that's what we were seeing with my story as well. Seeing you, it's like, oh, they don't believe that you're from somewhere.
Hmm.
And then at the same time, like in English, I have the accent from here. So like, oh, you're 110% from the States. Like you're not, you know, completely Latin or whatever.
Hmm.
And I don't know about you. Well, what I love about your story is like, oh, you know, I'm from Connecticut, born and raised, and you will like, I'm looking at you, of course, I'm seeing you, and you're like, how? But like, I know how, but I'm assuming like I know how what you mean, of course, because I'm assuming you got that a lot as well. You're like, well, I was
Absolutely.
born and raised, like my cousins. I mean, they look as Latino as they come, and they were born in Massachusetts, born and raised, and you're like, well, that's, you know, heritage, essentially.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. So
Right.
totally. So that's
Yeah.
so that was a little bit about you and your backstory. Now, your main focus is the term Blatina.
Yes.
So society hasn't helped at all, like define this world. I mean, word. Sorry.
No worries.
um, well, ever since you were a little girl, so like forever, basically. So tell us more about Blatina. What does society think? All, you know, this word.
Okay, so I came up with Latina. Obviously, it stands for Black Latina. And what society thinks is that society never accepted a dark skinned woman, first of all, with
First of all, exactly.
hair and who can barely speak Spanish, and let's see, that has a Spanish last name to be who I am. When people see my name on paper, they are not expecting me. They are not visualizing me. I've had stories to where my first year teaching, and I was setting up my classroom. I remember this like it was yesterday. This was maybe about eight. Ooh, now I'm telling my age. 8, 9 years ago. So I remember setting up my classroom, and in walks a parent, and this was in Baltimore City. And she says to me, hi, excuse me, I'm looking for a Miss Garcia. And I said, I'm Miss Garcia. And she goes, and she like gives me this look, and she goes, I just had to make sure that you spoke English because I saw this Mexican last name on the paper. And I was like, I was
Oh my
so thrown
god.
off. I was so thrown off. And I was just like, here I am. I can speak English. Your child is going to be fine in my care. I mean, it was my first year getting ready to teach, so I didn't know how to handle that situation.
Has it
And
happened to you since then again?
oh, absolutely.
Of course. So now you know how to handle it.
Yeah, I educate. I mean, that's one of my missions, to educate and express who I truly am. So it's not an issue now, but I will say that every time it does happen, it sometimes throws me off just a little bit.
It's very understandable because, like, what's the sentence again? Like, you judge the book. Like, don't judge the book by its cover. I know it's that sentence, but that's exactly
Exactly.
what we get judged for. It does, and I've had the same experience various times. I've also been a teacher for 10 plus years.
Uh-huh.
and I was a teacher in Spain, and it was actually the same thing because I also have a Spanish last name, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Yeah,
was
how do
teaching
you pronounce your
English.
last name, by the way?
Arredondo.
Wow.
I
That could be
absolutely
hard for a
adore
lot of
it.
people.
It's on my mother's side actually, and it's so unique and it's so different, and it's like there's not a lot of people with that last name. So for me, it's
Uh-huh.
like what you were saying about waving your flag and being proud. For me, it's like Arredondo. Like it's just a beautiful last name,
Okay.
and so thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I was in Spain. And they were like, wait, your name's Ariadna Redondo. Like, you don't know English. And this was like, I'm bilingual. I can speak Spanish to them. And I'm telling the parents, like, you don't know anything about my life. And I'm like, I was raised in the States. Like, do you hear me speak? Like, you're hearing me speak, obviously. Like, our community here is like, no, she's from the States. Like, obviously. But within Spain, you would think
Mm-hmm.
that they would understand, like, oh, this is Ariadna. Okay, fine. She was raised in the States. No, like, I had to change my last name for the parents. So a lot of the companies, when they were hiring me, they're like, okay, first of all, you don't know Spanish.
Uh-huh.
Second of all, you just arrived to Spain yesterday. Yes, you look Latina, but it's absolutely fine. And your name could be like Ariadna, and I would like invent them, like Ariadna Kimberly or something like that, or like whatever typical last name I can think of, like Ariadna Smith,
Uh-huh.
because of kind of what you were saying, but that kind of stereotype of saying like Ariadna Redonda. No, this girl doesn't know English. Like, why do I want her like teaching my kids? And you're like, dude. Like, do you know any English? Are you listening to it? Anyways, so yeah,
That's so
preach.
interesting that you had to like change your last name because of it.
Yeah, like it happens everywhere. Like I know we talk a lot about the States, and because we do live in this country, and because it's a big part, of course. And I love how our community is raising each other up right now in the
Mhm.
Latin community.
Right.
However, I always state this happens everywhere because I've also had happen kind of the inverse, but in Spain. And you're like, okay, it's all right. It happens
Yeah.
everywhere. Proof be told.
Right, right. Wow.
So, we have a lot of stories in common without a doubt and to share, which that's why your company, which that's the next question now,
Uh-huh.
resonated with me. So,
Okay.
what made you start your business? What was your drive? Tell us, my darling.
So I will say, my last year teaching, I it was around the same time that like blogging was starting to become cool. I mean, I know blogging had taken off a little bit before then. This was in 2016. However, it started to become very trendy and sticky amongst the regular people, I should say.
Exactly. All
So,
this under quotation quotes, people.
right, right. And I wish if they could see my hands right now.
Exactly, because I can see you, but they can't. So I'm like, no, she's doing quotation marks right now of like blogging and regular people and etc.
Yeah. um, so I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of toying with this idea, and I was just, and plus I'm always finding ways to hustle and make some extra cash. So I'm just like, I want to sell stuff. So I was just like, well, let me blog and sell stuff. So I was like, well, what am I going to blog about? And I thought about blogging about my experiences because I felt like it was things that just kept happening to me. Like I said, the teacher, even though that was in 2011, the parent that came in and asked me about my last name, but it was just so I kept getting that throughout the years from parents, from kids, even kids in fourth and fifth grade. They're asking me, "Oh, why is your last name Garcia?" Um, so I was just like, you know what? And people not believing me or giving me a weird face whenever I did tell them where I'm from, or my background. People always questioning me about my hair. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take my experiences and put them on clothes. But let me back up. Before I did that, I was blogging, very quickly learned that I didn't want to be a blogger. Even though in a sense, like I have a blog, but I like to feature other people's stories, not me writing them. But I do have a few blogs posted on our website that I wrote myself. But I wanted to feature everybody else's stories who can relate to me. I have some line sisters who are culturally mixed or Afro-latina, if you will. And we always shared stories in college, about being, where we're from, and 1 minute we're dancing Spanish to Spanish music, and another minute we're listening to trap music or R&B, and it's just like that cultural mix is pretty cool. So
I
like,
adore it so much.
thank you. I'm like, this would be awesome to share with other people who may or may not understand, and to help people who can relate to us and help them on their journey to identifying who they truly are. And so I started with a couple of my colleagues, other teachers at the time. One girl, she's Mexican and African American, and then the other one was Puerto Rican and African American. And I took their stories and posted it on the blog. And at the time, my blog was called something else. It's deleted, it's gone. But I shared their stories, and people started to inquire, like, oh my God, this is interesting, and what are you gonna do with this? And so I'm just like, oh, well, let me, I want to sell stuff. How can I make money? I'm gonna take these experiences and put them on clothes. So that's what I did. I brought a shirt from Forever 21, a black crop top with long sleeves turtleneck. The quality was amazing, but it was costly. And I was like, what? I'm going to put Latina has no skin tone, because what that means to me is that, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Just because I'm dark skinned doesn't mean that I can't be Latina. And that, to me, like, if I can say that my story is a book, the title of it would be Latina Has No Skin Tone, or Born to an Immigrant, because those two things, those messages are very dear to my heart. I feel like my whole growing up, that should have been the title of my story.
Reach.
Yeah.
Like I said, your story resonates so much with me, and
you.
so many others. This is why I really wanted to showcase and feature you. And much like you said, you
Thank
want to get
you.
other stories out there, and this is what we do here at The Always Believer. This is why you're the Always Believer, as well, as in you believed in yourself, you went out and did it, and that's what you're sharing the story you have today, which I adore. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No problem, for sure. You're welcome.
So I interrupted you because I was like, I need to tell her. Like, it's just I get so excited to hear these stories come to life, because it's like, yes, that's what we need. More people like us up on the screen.
But you know what? I didn't do much research about starting a t-shirt company. I didn't do much research as far as how to market or anything, or how to run a business. Like, I've had a travel company business that I was doing at the time, but something completely different than what I'm doing now. And I would attend personal development workshops. I would attend business workshops. And I kind of took my experience and my lessons that I've learned from there and kind of carried it over. But a lot of people ask me, well, how did you start this t-shirt company, or how did you do this? And I didn't put much time into it. I didn't have a business plan. No one coached me. I used YouTube University, and I would stay up till 3, 4 in the morning watching YouTube videos, watching other people, how to ship a shirt. I didn't even know how to ship a shirt. So it was just like, I started to do those things once people started to inquire, like, oh my God, I want that. I put my sister in the shirt, and boom, it took off. I posted it on Instagram, and now people were asking me about it. So I kind of just dived in really quickly and never looked back. And now it's grown.
It's grown, girl. It has grown. I see you shining. My goodness.
Thank you.
Love it. I told you right when we were talking again, and I know I've texted you this. I'm like, I need me one of those shirts, because I love that message, and it's true. And you're right. Like, I always get that question. I mean, I think it's a universal question of, like, if you had a book or a movie or whatever, like, what would it be named of your life,
Yeah.
And I still don't, well, a lot of times usually it's like, oh, to always believe, because that's what led me to, that's where the name comes from, and that's what I've always had my own backstory. And with you, and I love it's that, like, Latina has no color, because it's true. And the amount of times that I've talked to so many people, and they think of as a Latina someone like, I don't, like Sofia Vergara. That's the first thing. What's her name? Eva Longoria. So those kind of people are like the first people that they think of, not because they're famous, just because that's the person that they describe.
Yeah.
And you're like, it goes beyond that. Like, we gotta stop putting people in baskets. I'm like, oh yeah, but that's the majority of you look like so and so and so and so. And I'm like, no, if you really dig deep down, it's not just that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And much like you said earlier, actually, it's not you're not Black precisely because you're from Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, to be exact.
Right. Right. Exactly. I know, you know, that used to be a thing, and I'm not gonna lie, in high school and probably even middle school, when, you know, people would say that, you know, or if I see someone who is Black but they speak Spanish, the assumption was always either Dominican or they're Cuban. That's it. And so there was never no real thought, or it was just really ignorant, pure ignorance. And, you know, I had that thought going into college until I met a Dominican girl who is Black. And, you know, like she's really, really dark skinned. She has thick, coarse hair. She was very sweet. And I remember hearing her in the classroom speaking Spanish. And she was speaking Spanish, and I looked, and I was just like, okay. And then, you know, she was Dominican, and so I'm just like, yeah, that's the standard. You know, Dominicans are Black, Cubans are Black, so they're gonna be Black ones, you know. But I very quickly learned, especially coming here to Miami, moving to Miami, there's white Cubans too.
Yes, there are. I've met plenty. I say this proudly. I grew up in Miami, and I know Miami, and thankfully I visit there often. So yes, there are definitely white Cubans in this world.
And I mean,
Isn't
they
it?
have blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes, red hair. The ones with the red hair with really pale skin always surprise me, and I have to keep telling myself, like, even I have to still to this day have to keep saying Latina has no skin tone, because when I see a white Cuban or a white Hispanic in general with blonde hair, blue eyes, or either red hair, green eyes, it throws me off. It throws me off, but that's because I wasn't used to, like, where I'm from, I wasn't used to seeing white ones. I was used to seeing mestizo ones, you know, ones with like a little bit of color, with dark curly hair or dark long hair for that matter. Yeah.
I completely get you, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I always say, like if you ever see pictures of my grandma, that, you know, she passed away years ago, but she was white and blonde and curly hair as well, and she was from Venezuela. And yes, it goes back to heritage. It goes back to, you know, we're not going to go into this conversation right now about colonies and et cetera, of course. But still, the fact that she was born and raised mainly 110% Venezuela and proudly of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, maybe my ancestors are European, obviously, but who am I right now today? Me, and I'm Venezuelan. She was really proud of it. And you're like, there you go. And so on and so forth. So I completely, yeah, I see where you're going. And especially when you get to a city like Miami, for example, that there's such a cultural mix of everything that's everything. Right. That you just don't know what to expect. So you just don't expect anything. You're like, all right, you're you. Okay, perfect. You know?
Yep.
So what is Blatina with the good hair? And why that name?
Okay, so like I said, when I started my journey, it was back in 2016. I didn't fully launch though until the Day of Love, February 14, 2017.
Yeah, it was 3 years this year.
3 years, yes. It'll be 3 years on Friday. Well, if you're listening, it would be past 3
exactly. Years. That's why I was going to say the same thing.
But yeah, so, oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
You started February 14th, 2017.
Okay.
And the question was, what was Blatina with the good hair, and why the name?
So in 2016, you probably remember the song, but it was Beyonce, and at the end of the song, she says, "You better call Becky with the good hair."
Yes, I had a hunch. I just had a hunch with that name.
Yeah. So, at the same time, you know, everyone's calling each other Becky, or like playing around, being stupid. Yeah, you know, it was on social media. People were using the captions called Becky with the good hair. And, you know, growing up, everyone always said I had good hair. You know, me going to the grocery store, I remember like it was yesterday too, with my father, you know, I would go everywhere with my father. And so everywhere I go, someone always commenting or always stopping him to mention how beautiful my hair was, my big eyes, something. And And so it kind of just stuck with me, not to say that I believe in the whole good hair, bad hair thing. I believe in healthy hair, and that having hair is good hair. So I kind of used a play on words. And I did Be Latino with the good hair because that's how the world always viewed me and made sure that I knew, that I was the token Black girl with the good hair. And so I kind of used it to show people that this is really stupid, the whole good hair, bad hair thing, and to share my experiences with people because obviously people were always the ones to point it out to me, but I don't think they realized how I internalized it or how that made me feel. So I used Be Latino with the good hair. But as I dove deeper and got deeper into growing and scaling up, I realized I don't feel comfortable saying Be Latino with the good hair, and that's why I laughed when you brought it up. And so I chose to stick with Shop Be Latina.
I love that twist and the interesting story, of course, because you're like, all right, I had enough of this. Let me just have a name that's more faithful to myself.
Right. And
I had a feeling like it was gonna go that way with the good hair. I'm like, wait a second, I remember this song and I remember this back then.
It's so funny because last year I took a business course of training here in Miami for local entrepreneurs, and every time I had to stand up, I had to say my name, where I'm from, and my company's name, and every time I had to present, like for some reason I always cringed in my heart and in my body, like, Be Latino with the good hair, especially standing in front of a room. I had to pitch my business to some investors, and they're all white, white men and women, and it just felt so uncomfortable. And I'm just like, why do I feel uncomfortable? And I was like, I'm really not okay with the good hair. So I'm just like, and then people were getting confused because they thought I was selling hair. When they saw my name on paper, they would, and I would get random phone calls from credit card companies and stuff, and they're like, Shop Be Latino, we can help you. What is your company? Are you selling hair? Are you selling extensions? Like, what are you doing? Are you a salon? And I'm just like, no, I'm neither of those things. And I was getting tired of having to explain. But when I say Shop Be Latina, I don't really get questioned about it.
No, it's very to the point, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you pronounce it like you said, Shop Be Latina, because I want to be faithful to what you named it. Because I mean, you can read it as Shop Latina, of course, but you're
Right,
like
it's
Shop
a play
Be
on words.
Latina. Exactly,
Yeah,
and I love playing on words, without a doubt. That's
yeah.
Yes, I adore my play on words. I do that often.
Yeah, so it's like Be Latina or Black Latina, however you want to pronounce it, do it.
I adore that. I really do, and I understand what you were saying when you're like pitching, of course. And my takeaway from this story and a message that stands with you is to always listen to your gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you weren't proud of your good hair and that what you've always been told and what you always felt. You weren't
Mm-hmm.
proud of the message that you were giving away, or not giving away, but giving out to people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it made you cringe. So you followed your gut feeling instead of being like kind of hard-headed, like, no, I already named it this way, it's gonna stay this way. It was like, no, let's go back, let's rewind for a sec there, love, and
Right.
let's do that, and I love it. That's a beautiful message, because you got to stick to your gut feeling, and make sure whatever you're putting out in the world resonates with you 110%, and it does.
Absolutely.
And the play on words is wonderful. I always praise on words. So you told us that you're a pair already, you share your story and has a mission, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more, because you always say, you've mentioned Latina has no skin color, no skin tone. And what more do you have? Like, what other products or sentences? What's your message? What's your story?
So Born to an Immigrant is my number 2 seller, after Latina has no skin tone. And so with Born to an Immigrant is me just being very proud of who I come from and where I've came from. So Born to an Immigrant is for anyone who is super proud of their cultural background, who is super proud of what their parents have endured to come to the States and survive here. So Born to an Immigrant, very dear to my heart. I also have, which I started with 3 years ago, is Pretty for a Black Girl, which Black girls crossed out. And on the back it says, I'm just pretty, because I've always gotten that growing up. I've always been told, especially with my, being from a small town, I was always told, I'm pretty for a Black girl. I'm pretty amongst my, the people, my peers. And it's just like,
Excuse you. Sorry.
like again, like I said before, I didn't really understand what that exactly meant. I was just
Yeah,
like,
of
okay,
course.
whatever. I would just listen. I never said like thank you or oh yeah, I definitely feel that way. No. But I've always been told that, especially from like white people. Like I used to work at Rainforest Cafe in college, and a majority of the customers that would come in were white or Caucasian, I should say, and they always made a point to say how pretty I was, or would give me compliments, and it's just like, okay, like obviously it should make me feel good, but I kind of in the back of my mind, I felt like that because I guess because growing up, what I would hear and get, I would feel like they're telling me that for a specific reason, maybe because they don't feel like Black people are good-looking people. So it gave me this like I don't want to say resentment to hear that comment, and it's not or a compliment. It's not a compliment. And so I took that experience and put it on a shirt at the time and kind of ran with that message. But now I don't get that anymore. And I feel like people are not experiencing that anymore with the times that we are living in today. I feel like people are more accepting about being Black and proud. People are embracing who they are, thank God. People are embracing the African culture. There's more beautiful Black people in the media. So I feel like that message has kind of scaled back, which is great.
Which is
So I'm
beautiful, without a
actually,
doubt.
yeah, I'm going to be retiring that message, even though I still have buyers here and there for it. I feel like there's no need for it anymore.
And I think that's very beautiful because, like, once again, your business has grown not only in size and proportion of where you started from, even though it was something quote unquote random that you were just one day were like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this and go to YouTube University, like we call it, which
Uh-huh.
is which is really a really good university, to be honest. It helps so much. But circling back to what we were saying, is
Yeah.
that you also grew with the movement, with the mission, with the message, and you're seeing these trends and you're seeing those changes happen. And something as quote unquote simple as selling your own merch online, once again, very quote unquote here,
Uh-huh.
is able to take part of that change, and that process is absolutely beautiful and inspiring to see.
Yeah.
Because once again, you took your own personal story, and this is what we're all about here at the Always Believer. Wherever you're from and whatever it is that you went through, you spin it around and we're like, it was tough and it was hard. And you like said, like, these are compliments, but they're not really compliments to something that is engraved all my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I want to make some sort of change. And even if it's just one person out there, at least it's something. And you've prospered to way more than just that one person.
Right.
It's beautiful to see that you're making that change happen within what
Yeah.
that message behind your clothes in this particular case.
Yeah, I always say that, I took pain and turned it into power, because without the mess, there wouldn't be no message.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about, something with purpose, something with message, whatever that something is. In your particular case, once again, apparel. I love the fact that you've seen the change and that it's like now you can tell us like, oh, I'm not selling the shirt anymore because we're being more accepted.
Right.
That is super important to hear
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I feel like you can probably turn that into something else.
Right. Yeah, I
Like
can.
time has changed or something or other will pop into your head for that shirt to have a greater purpose. Like, oh,
Right.
it's not 2016 anymore. You know what I mean? Something or other that I know you and your play on words. You're like, you'll find something with that.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Because the message was there for a really long time, so that you can see that, like, oh, this is like the before and after kind of thing, and but
Mhm.
this sense with an actual deeper message than
Yeah.
other stuff.
Maybe I need to really get into like meeting and seeing more kids like around like that middle school or high school age to see their thoughts on it, to see if they're experiencing see if they're experiencing that, because like for me it stemmed from middle school and high school. So I'm wondering, are they experiences these kind of experiences? Because I know.
Exactly. That's where your reach could be as well. Not only to sell them the shirts, of course, but also to know exactly what's going on. And then I do that often. I've always worked with kids. I've been a teacher. I was a foster mom. I've been an au pair. I've
Oh, wow.
volunteer.
Okay.
And I love, of course, kids. That's why I've been with them for such a long time. But also because, you know, they're the youth and you want to make sure that you are in with the trends, but not because they're trends, but because you want to know where the world is leading to.
Exactly.
And that's really, really useful what your thought train was, you know? Of
Right.
like, oh, looking out and seeing what middle school and high schools feel like in
Mm-hmm.
different kind of communities. Um, oh shoot, this is life right now. It's a nice smooth morning, ladies and gentlemen, here at Team Fire.
No,
Because I forgot
that's
the
a good
question. I have another question for you with this one. I'll come
Mhm.
back.
Okay.
So, meanwhile, that one comes back. You kind of already answered the next question I had in mind.
Okay.
Um, have you seen the change from where you started to now, and how has your audience replied to your brand?
I've seen a huge change. In the beginning, when I first got started, I had so many people confused about what I was doing. Um, some people even mad. Some people just was like, you know what, I'm not gonna even try to understand what you're doing. I'm just gonna let you do your thing. And as they see me post customers and my items, if they see me post a different blog post or a different story, they see me in a picture with a celebrity or whatever the case may be, that's when they come around and they show love and they're like, I want that shirt now. And I'm like, oh, where were you when I first started and I needed people to wear my stuff? Where were you when I was starting out and I needed the money? And where was that support then? And it's just like, keep that same energy. You're confused. I get it. Now you understand it better. Thank you. But at the same time, it's just like, I feel like, like if you're going to support something, support it wholeheartedly, not when it's most convenient for you, not when you see me doing great and I'm rising, right? You should have supported me from the beginning just because you know me. But at the same time, I know that people who are the most closest to you aren't your biggest supporters. Like I have strangers who are my biggest supporters. I have people from Instagram that I've never met in real life, one of my biggest supporters. So it's just like, I kind of get it. So I've seen a huge change with how people receive my business. Now they're more accepting. They're more, ever since Amada La Negra came to the American market with Love and Hip Hop, I feel like people are now like, oh yeah, give me Latina has no skin tone. I want to wear it now because they heard her story. They see her on TV. Now they want to wear it. And it's just like they see her in the shirt. Now they want to wear it. So they're more accepting now because the conversation is out there. She has gotten people talking, but I was there before she even made it to the American market on the whole Afro-Latina being Black and Latina at the same time. So I feel like it's more accepting now. I am grateful. I'm not in no way hating. I'm glad she did what she did because it's got the world talking and people are more accepted. There are a lot more businesses out there that have similar messages to me who have shirts where you can walk around and represent who you are. And back when I started, there was like one shirt. There was one shirt that was out there that had, it said Afro-Latinas rock. That was it. There was no other shirts. If you Googled Afro-Latina or Blatina, you couldn't find any shirts that you can wear until I came out. So I'm really grateful that it has taken a turn for the good, or for the better, I should say. Every now and then I do get that one person who has something smart to say or that's not accepting of what I'm doing. And I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Exactly. Just shake it off. It was like, all right, next. Have a good day. Send you all my love. Thank you
Yeah,
very much. Bye.
like it, don't follow me, don't watch my stuff, don't follow me on my
Exactly.
personal page because if you follow me on my personal page, if you follow me on Shop Be Latina, you will be inspired, you will be educated, you will see these stories, you will see these people in my clothes or with the mug, you will see it.
Exactly. So, like, you know what you're coming in for. If not, show yourself out. Bye.
Exactly.
You reminded me of the question I had previously,
Okay.
actually, because you also stated that now we're seeing a lot of these people on big screens. Not only, the artists that you said, of course, but before you were explaining about, like, you feel like with the shirt that you had, the pretty for a black girl with a black girl crossed out, We're like, oh, we don't need that much anymore because we're seeing ourselves more represented on TV.
Exactly.
And so you feel the difference. For the past 3 years, you have felt the difference of seeing more people like us on the screen.
For sure.
And how did you get from starting out, which I also have to commend you once again, because you were the pioneer of all this. The fact that there was nothing on the market, just quote unquote again, 4 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago, sorry, 2017, you're correct. I thought it was like in 2016. Just 3 years ago to where it is now. You're definitely the pioneer because you're the one who started it all, of course. And you're like, oh, I was there first, and I was going to make sure that, everyone gets this message across. How did you get from all the way to there, obviously, to get artists to wear your merch, and like what was your outlet, or what was your drive in this moment?
Well, I will say this. The key words here is just keep showing up. I just kept showing up. I had nothing else. So I got let go from teaching and going into the summer of 2016. And so that really gave me time to really spend on, okay, YouTube University and developing these shirts with very little money. And just having my friends. I started with friends and family wearing my clothes. My mom is one of my biggest supporters. My sister, well, both of my sisters, but really my middle sister, I used her as a model in the beginning because she has a great body. And, she's lighter skinned, but she has thick, coarse hair, curly hair. And so I used her. And so I started just really just pushing on social media. Social media managing is like my underlying love. I like creating stuff. I like designing. I like using my hands. I like the challenge of putting out content, creating catchy captions. It drives my soul. And so
me both. I love creating content as well. So yes, I hear you.
I like letting things look pretty. So I started posting on Instagram. And, the more and more people that saw it, the more people sharing it with my family members. My mom and my sister wear my clothes. People are asking about it. So I just was pushing. I used social media to my advantage for sure. Once I moved to Miami, it was game over. There's always something to do here in Miami. There's always events where celebrities are there. I am also the lead brand ambassador for Curl Hair Products. So with that has been a tremendous help because I'm always working an event. I'm always coming across influencers. I'm always coming across celebs. So what led to celebrities and who they know in my clothes is that I attended an event. I worked an event with MC Lai, Faith Evans, just a few other people like R&B singers, and Kelly Price, and I gifted them. I came back the following day because I was invited for the whole weekend. I came back the following day and I brought them all shirts. And so I took a risk. Like I said, when I started, I barely had a lot of money. So I took a risk and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to risk this and give them the shirts. I gifted 9 of them the shirts and only 2 of them wore it. And neither of them tagged me. And now, mind you, these are celebs who have over millions of followers. None of them tagged me. But my followers did. My followers were commenting. I woke up in the morning and my followers are commenting like, that's your shirt, or isn't this you? And, and so
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
This is what we love our community so much. Oh, that story made me teary. Oh, I'm crying. Oh, that's so sweet. I love communities that help each other up.
Oh my goodness. And so when Love and Hip Hop came on for Miami, and I saw Amada La Negra having a viewing party, I was like, I'm going to bring her a shirt. Even though I've done it in the past where those 9 celebs, only 2 of them wore, and I wasted money on that. I was just like, I'm going to bring her a shirt. If she's really, putting out there that, we come in different colors, don't judge a book by its cover, and her afro, I'm going to bring her a shirt. So I brought her a shirt. She was so excited. I was the only one to bring her a gift. She was so excited. She was still new. Like Love and Hip Hop only aired maybe once or twice at that time. The 2 episodes maybe in.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was so excited. I brought her the shirt and I made a video when I did it and I posted it. And, you know, the day after, maybe 2 days later, she started posting on her live. She posted pictures in it, never tagged me, unfortunately. She never tagged me, but I at least got that content. I pulled it off of her page and I posted it. And, you know, I still have the pictures and the videos from today and I still post it from time to time. But yeah, she never tagged me, but at least I got some free content from it. It's all good. And then I see she's from Miami, so she does a lot of events here. I would just show up and I wear my Latina Has No Skin tone because I wanted to haunt her. I wanted to haunt her and everybody else until one day they will support. Eventually she's going to support. And it's just like, you know, you would think, and this is a whole nother conversation, you would think because of the messages she puts out and how hard she goes for this topic, that she would want to support it without getting payment. Even though I offered, I'm going to say I offered payment and she still didn't give me any play, which is okay. Eventually, the message is going to keep haunting her because every time I see her, I have it on. And I saw her maybe 3 or 4 times after that. And she always says, I remember this brand. And she always says to me, yes, Latina has, and she always messes up the words. She always says, Latina has no skin color, or she'll say, or Latina comes in all colors. But she remembers. That's the key thing. She remembers. And so every time this, a topic is being presented, whether it's on social media and real life, someone is always referring and remembering my brand because of what I do. So I just keep showing up.
That's the message behind all of it. I mean, it's not only the message, but also the word of advice that I love that you just gave to all our audience put together. To always show up for yourself, always keep going. I love the fact that you just took the risk. I'm big on risk. I take the leap and I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to knock on that door. I already have the no. Let's try the yes, you know?
Right.
And always show up for yourself is something that as entrepreneurs, as women, as men, I mean, as human beings that we are, we need to always show up for ourselves. And that's what you're doing. So thank you for sharing that. That is a whole different conversation that I would glad to have with you on and offline.
Okay.
Because it's just, I understand that world so much as well. And it's so interesting to keep hearing these people who are inspiring and people who actually do, you know, put their name out there, much like what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So we're almost done. Like, these hours always fly by every time that we record podcast and whatnot. We're 52 minutes, my darling.
Okay.
So what are your upcoming projects, events, and whatnot?
Yeah, so some of the projects is, well, I'm working on restocking at this very moment. So I was actually supposed to finish it yesterday, but I'm going to do that today. It's on my to-do list. Restocking because I'm getting a lot of questions about, like, when are you going to get to this and this size? And I'm like, okay, I'm working on it. Restocking, I'm working on spring collection, summer collection. I'm getting a head start. I have some events coming up in Miami and New York. So it's called She's With Me. It's a vision board event in Connecticut. And then I have, I'm doing an Afro-latina in the city meetup once again. I haven't done it in over almost 2 years, but I'm doing it here in Miami. So I'm doing that at the end of March 29th. If you're interested in that, stay tuned for details on my page, Shabby Latina, on Instagram or Facebook. And then I have Afro-Latino Fest in July in Brooklyn, which I'm really excited about. If you've never been to it, you have to go. I'm telling you, it's an experience of the lifetime. Like,
girl, I want to go to all your things right now. All your things. Oh my God. I'll have to fly down to Miami again and visit you and visit my brother and my sister-in-law. Shout out to my sister-in-law who I love. And in New York, definitely.
Yes, Afro-Latino Fest is going to be amazing. I went the past 2 years and it was phenomenal. And then I have PBC Crow Friends, which is West Palm Beach Crow Friends. I'm vending there in the end of July. So I have a few things going on. I have more podcasts, more interviews, more photo shoots, and everything coming. So it's a journey. It's definitely a journey. However, you can follow it, subscribe to the website, and I will keep you abreast of everything that I'm doing.
Raise the roof. Just you're such a beautiful example. I swear you're so inspiring, Xiomara. I love it. Thank you so much for being here today and giving your time and your story to all of us in our community. So inspiring.
Thank you.
Goodness. The last two questions that I always ask every single guest is, what are 3 adjectives that describe you?
I will say diverse for sure. I am very well rounded. Um, I am if I can say this about myself, beautiful spirit.
Yes, you can. Own it. Of course you can.
I feel like I embody a positive spirit in general. I've been told that. And then 3, I will say I am silly. Most people don't realize that I am until they really get to know me. And they're like, man, you are very silly. You have great humor. And, based on my looks, people don't think that I'm as silly or weird as I am. People think I'm bougie, or they think that I'm just like this stuck up girl, and I'm not. I'm not at all.
No, I don't know you from a long time or personally, sadly, but soon enough. But the hour and something that we've been talking, you're definitely down to earth and chill. Like the first thing you were like, I just woke up 20 minutes ago and I'm okay. And I'm like, bring it, hun, bring it. Just it's all good in the hood here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're just chillaxed. Love your vibe, love your energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Last
for having me.
question. What are you thankful for?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm just thankful for life, really. Like I'm just thankful that I have the freedom to not have to go to a 9 to 5. No offense to anyone who does have a 9 to 5, because that's what makes the world go around. But this is something I fought for. I fought for freedom on my vision board, which they can't see, but
But I can see, and you can see mine. It's all the way back there.
oh, it's funny. Oh my God. Yeah, on my vision board, I had educator to entrepreneur. It's not there anymore, but I had that 3 years ago. And so, I removed it a year ago, even though I was solely an entrepreneur and not working a 9 to 5. I haven't had a job in almost 3 years. So, yeah, I'm very thankful for my freedom and the ability to not have to have a 9 to 5.
I once again agree with you because I also love being an entrepreneur. It's something that I've always pictured myself. No disrespect, like you said, from people who work from 9 to 5. Good for you. Congratulations. But what makes me me is creating this content. I like you do see it now, the vision board. I was like, wait a second, there it is.
Yeah, I see it.
And freedom is one of my definitely favorite words because this is what freedom for me feels like. So I resonate once again with you, and I love that so much. So thank you once again for being here, for sharing your beautiful, inspiring stories. We can definitely find you at shopblatina.com, Instagram. I'll link it all up, of course. And there you have it. We'll definitely stay in touch and, see all your stories.
Awesome.
And as for us over here, the Always Believer community and whatnot, new episodes every single Wednesday. Thank you very much for listening, for tuning in once more. I would love to hear your story and hear what you're all about. So you're always welcome to share. Meanwhile, we are on, of course, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all the social media. We have our own personal blog, of course, alwaysbeliever.com. And we're on Patreon and we have a membership group and so many other goodies. So come on in, say hello, let us know what you're all about, and we're always here. All right. Thank you, Xiomara.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye.